creating two objects called the input stream reader and the output stream writer. So these are the two, these are coming from the java.io.classes. We are getting these two objects called the input stream reader object and the output stream writer object. So in one is an object that belongs to the type of input stream reader. Out is the other object which leads to the output stream writer. Okay. You need to actually put this in the try catch block, because whatever exceptions that happen in opening the sockets and all that have to be caught. Otherwise, the program will not work correctly. Okay. So Java provides for this ability to catch the exception. So this whole part of opening the socket connection and then sending the message has been put under this exception called the try and the catch block. Okay. Any exceptions that happen, for example, you're trying to open a socket class, a socket object, and then there's an exception, then this will be caught here and the program will terminate properly by this exception. Okay. So this is part of Java's exceptional handling mechanism, try catch block. Any exception occurring within this try catch block will be caught by the exceptional handler, and it will handle the exception. Okay. Now, as a first statement, I'm telling to just make sure that this I've entered into this program. I'm just saying that we have entered into the client. So this should come when we're running the program, entering into the client. This is the first statement that it will print. Okay. Now here is a place where we are creating the new socket object. As you can see, this is the time. This is interesting because all that we are saying here is there exists a class, an object called socket, which belongs to the socket class. Okay, and this doesn't create any socket object in Java. All that it says is the type of the socket, which means we will be giving only the declaration. Okay, we are declaring it here. This is where we are actually creating this object. Okay, the runtime system JVM, when it encounters or executes this statement, new statement, this is the time it is actually creating this object, socket object. This is the time the actual socket object is created. That's where we are telling this socket class DOS lab is the machine to which I want to open the connection, and the port number on which this server program is listening on DOS lab is 8127. Okay. So what we are telling is there is a machine up there on the network called DOS lab in which there is a program listening on this port number 8127, and I want to connect using this socket to that program. That's what this statement essentially is saying. What the client is saying is, I want to open a socket connection to the server object called DOS lab, on which a program is listening on the port number 8127. Okay. Now correspondingly, when we go to the server program, we will write our server program giving this port number and making the server program listen on this port number. So when the client makes a call to the server on this port number, the server will be able to get the socket ID and then start communicating with the client object. Okay. So once we have done this, okay, okay, so this would have created the socket. I'll just print this statement saying that I've created the socket. Okay, once the socket object is created, you can use it like any other file, as I was telling last time. Okay, so in this particular case, you can see there is an output stream writer. Okay, this is for output handler. So on the, this is a nice thing about Java. If you understand Java, properly, it becomes so simple. Socket is an object. Everything is an object. So you will actually call a message or a method on this object. Okay. Now, as you can see here, the okay, so the output stream writer, as you can see here, this is actually taking and creating an output stream. This is like on the socket, you are calling this method called call get output stream. This is like now getting a hands socket object. Okay, when you make call get output stream on the socket, it gives you a handle. Now as you can see, this is passed on again as an argument to the output stream writer. This is again a class. Okay, now we are creating a new output stream writer to which you are supplying this object socket.getOutStream, so that whatever object now finally you are getting this out is the out handler. So whatever you write on this out, as you can see somewhere down the line, we are going to write the using this out, we are going to write into the socket, which will reach the other end of the wherever the socket is connected. Okay, to just make it buffered out. This is a nice thing about Java again, to just make sure that you understand. I want to create a buffered writer, not just a simple output writer. What is the difference between these two? The buffered writer will buffer whatever you are writing. No, there is a buffer now. So there's a, you put whatever you're putting into the output will be buffered and sent. That means it may not be immediately sent. When you do the flush, that's the time it's actually written out. Okay, so now what I'm creating is a buffered writer using the out. So you can see there are several wrappers that I've created. First, output stream, socket output stream. I'm using that to create a output object. Hello? Yeah, okay. So
one thing, sir. ETV persons are recording the talk, sir. After the class, they want to interact with you also.
Okay, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, yeah, okay. So the buffered output, when you're putting this out object, this becomes a wrapper now on the buffered writer. Using this, I'm creating the actual B out, which is a buffered writer. Okay. Now you can see this is like, you know, take an object, wrap it around with something else, wrap it around else. The functionality keeps increasing. Now that's a nice thing about Java. As you can see here, I'm getting the socket get output stream. One interesting thing is in Java, if you understand the objects, it's very easy for you to work. Here, even the network connection is like any other simple file object. Okay. For example, down the line, I'm creating a system.in. As you can see, the way I'm actually creating the input stream reader, I'm just using the system.in. This is a standard input to the system, which is a keyboard. We are saying system.in. Like there, I'm saying socket.get output stream. All that you are supplying here is system.in to the input stream reader, which is creating now an input object called in1. Okay. Again, I'm actually creating a buffered reader, as you can see here, and I'm actually creating a buffered reader bin. This again starts reading line after the one line after the other. Whatever I'm inputting, it will read one line after the other from the keyboard. Okay. Now this is a statement where this program will, the client program will try to read a string from the keyboard. As I give it now, this is the bin read line, will read a line and store it as a string. Okay. Now you can say this is a string the client has entered. As you can see here, the string is entered. Whatever string is entered by me will be printed here. Now this is what I would like to send it to the server. Okay. So what I need to do, all that I need to now do is write this message. As you can see, I take the buffered output, which is a socket now, socket object. Please remember here, this is what the socket object is all about. This is where the socket out. Okay. I just made it into a buffered writer as a B out. Now this is a place where I'm actually writing. Okay. So the message is written onto the socket here. The send message, as you can see, the string, whatever I've entered, is what I'm writing here. So when I flush it, this string will go to the other end of the server where the socket is connected. Where is the socket connected now? The socket is connected to DOS lab at 8127. Okay. Now whatever messages I write here using the B out will just go to the server to where the socket is actually connected to. Okay, right? So this is a simple client program. Okay, and all that I'll say, this is the first program that I'm writing. I'll start modifying this program to make it more complicated, to make you understand more subtleties of how this whole thing can be done. I'm just putting this whole thing under this simple program to start with. Okay, I guess this gives you some idea of how to write the client side of the program. Any questions at this time? If you have any questions, please put it into my chat box. I will try to address. They're saying, sir, the program is not clearly visible. If possible, change the background. I think, is that right? I thought it's a black and a green, so it should be visible more easily. Is this program not? Is the program not visible? Is the program not visible? Okay. So what you want is the terminal background to be changed. Okay. I'll try to change the color. Okay.
Sir, the green is perfectly visible, sir. Only that red color is not.
Red color is not visible, right? So let me see if I can change the color of the. I should be able to change the color. I think. Which one do I actually change? I'm not sure which is the. I need to find out what is the option to change the window color. Okay, I think the background needs to be changed. I guess only these. I guess the problem is this is nothing to do with the. This is the Emacs editor options which I'm using. Okay, so it will. So it's visible, right? I'll try next time to improve upon it, but I think this is part of the color coding is part of the. This is the Emacs editor which tells me, for example, if there's a comment, it gives in red. Okay, the keywords all come, user defined ones will all come, new and all that will come in some color, as you can see, public and all that stuff. Okay, the whole idea is if I make a mistake, it will be clear for me where I'm making the mistake. Okay. So that's the color coding, that's part of the Emacs editor that I'm using. Okay, so the Java program, right? Okay, other than that, any other question on this? Okay, so I think now if you have understood this program, let us go to the server end of the server side of the program and see. Now I will log on to my server machine because the other part of the program has to be written on the server side. Okay, my DOS lab server IP address, as you can see, 10.6.9.81. Okay, so this is where I will go and try to log on to my server. This is my so this is the where I'm logging in, as you can see. Okay, this is the server machine. So the client that you saw is the one which is there on the on my desktop. Okay, which will have some IP address. As now I'm using a DHCP, it will have its own server IP. But now I've logged in from this machine to the to my DOS lab server. Okay, which is 10.6.9.81. Okay. Now this program server.program is in this subdirectory. Okay. I guess this is in the main program. Okay. So the other one is in the okay. This is the server program that that's there on the server side. So I'm just showing you now the server side of the program. Okay, what will be the server side of this program? As you can see, again I'll import all the classes, java.io.all classes, and the .NET classes also I'll import all of them. Here I'm writing a server called the new server. Okay, I'm just creating a new server here, and I will actually create now a different kind of a socket on this, because the server has to listen to the client request. So Java provides you with this class called server socket. Okay, and this is this part of the .NET. All the classes that are there in this .NET. Okay, they'll support this. So as you can see here, there's a server socket. So you'll have, I'm creating an SS server socket here. Again, creating an input stream reader object and an output stream object. I also need a simple socket. Okay, when the server listens to the client request, it gets the when it accepts the server request, it accepts and gets this server socket. Okay, this is like saying now when the client is trying to open. Okay, this is like getting the cell number of the client. Yeah.
Sir, can you just elaborate what is the functional difference between the server socket and the client side socket?
See, the client side socket, I'm not listening on the client side socket. All that I'm doing is opening the socket to send messages to the server side socket, which is now listening actively for the client requests. Okay, so which means that unless some server socket listens to your messages, you can't receive it. Okay, so this is like saying, unless there is a server listening to your messages, who will receive your messages? Okay, so first thing you have to do is create a server. The server's job is to listen to the client requests. Okay, so when a client now opens a socket to the server, what the server does, accepts the client request, and it starts receiving messages sent from the server side. Okay, let us go a little forward and see, and then come back here to answer your question again. Okay, we didn't open a server socket on the client side. Only on the server side you are opening a socket. On the client side, what we said was, you will open, the client will open a socket to the server here, which is the DOS Lab server, on a port number 827. Now the corresponding server program say, I'm listening on 8127, which means that this program which you have written will be listening on 8127 for the requests, incoming requests of the client. Okay, so the server program, there is a socket actively listening for the client request, and that is what we mean by the server socket. Okay, to just make things clear, you have a front office, Murthy, you have a front office, right? You have a desk where people can ring you for any work, right, with you. Okay, right, so that number is known to people. That is a server socket. Okay, now what they need to know is the phone number of your PA. Okay, or whatever that mechanism that you have there. So all that phone number is now 8127. Okay, this server socket is your PA. Okay, so now your PA is listening to all the incoming requests on that phone number. So anybody wants to contact you will essentially open on their side a socket and say that I want to connect to JVR Murthy on 8127. Okay, now when anybody opens that socket, it will come and hit this statement here, SS accept. So when the server socket accepts, it gives whoever number has been called. For example, I am calling you, my number is what it will be here. Okay, so you know who called you. So you can say here the client ID is the following. So whoever is calling you, that ID will be printed here. Okay, okay,
Okay, sir.
right.
Another socket object.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the get object. Okay, so you will now this is the way you're going to now, if you want to read what the client is sending, now you will use this object. There the same socket object was used as an output stream. Here it will be input stream. Now what you will say, s dot get input stream, you will read what the client is sending now. On this s dot get input stream, you put input stream reader. Now there is a R1, this is the reader. Now you can make it as a buffered reader. Okay, right? All that I'm doing like what I did last time. I can read one after the other, so the reader becomes a buffer reader. Okay. Now we just make this reader ready. BR1 ready will make your reader ready to read whatever is the client sending. Now read the line which the client is sending. BR1 read line will exactly send the line that was sent by the client. Okay. Now you can print that by saying system out println client says the following thing. Okay. Now we need to put this again, the whole thing into try catch block to make sure that any exception, server opening problems are caught by this program. Okay. Right. So this is how we are going to write the. So how are you writing the client server program now? We are going to the server and making the server listen to the client request. On the client side, you are opening a socket connection to the server and sending whatever you need to send to the server program. Server can get whatever is the client sending now, and you can start doing whatever is needed on the server side program. If it wants to respond back, you can use the same server object yes and say now output stream, get output stream, then write onto it, and the client will get this message and it can read correspondingly the message sent by the server. Okay, they all become exercises now for you. As I go further, I'll give this and make you modify this program to various levels, to whatever level you can modify. Take this running program and you can start modifying slowly this program to add more and more functionality to see how client server programs are written. Okay, I'll also in the process teach you why it is so hard and what can happen and what is the theory behind writing distributed programs and what is the theory behind distributed computing. It is a whole lot more fascinating. Okay, this is a small program. This itself is fascinating. It has so many facets to it. Right now, a much bigger, complicated distribution, lot more challenge to you than what is available here. Okay. Any questions on this? I will actually now, hello? Yeah. So I'll show you now how these two programs will work. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to compile this program on the server side. Please remember now this is the server side, not the client side. Okay. I'm in this workstation, DOS Lab HP Z800 workstation. This is a workstation. Okay, I've just logged into this workstation and compiling this program. Okay, now once I've compiled this program, now I can run this program. Okay, now once I run this program under the Java virtual machine, this should keep listening to the incoming request. Now there is no request. This program is just listening for the client request. Okay, now in a different shell I'll open the client. Okay, so there are two programs now. As you can see here, this side is the server side program that is running here. Okay, and this is the client side of the program. Okay, now this is where my new client is in Hadoop, this thing. Okay, so this is what now we compile your program here. Okay, new client dot Java. Okay, so this will compile the client program. Okay, now you run the client program. Okay, on the client side, it should go and then send the message to the server side. Okay, is both the desktops visible? I think, yeah, this is the server program. Okay, so when I say Java new client, as you can see, enter the client, created the socket. Now there is a reader here. As you can see here, client ID, socket ID 10.6.9.252. The port number is 49543 from where I had sent to the server side. Okay, this is on the client side. Entered client, created a socket. So this actually now opened a connection to the server side. Okay. Now if I say here Janaki Ram on the client side as a string that I want to put, as you can see, the Java input stream reader actually read this IN1. The string entered is Janaki Ram. This is the first program that I have written. As you can see on the server side, it is saying client says Janaki Ram. Okay, right? So there are two. This is on client side. I'm running this program. Client side is my desktop. In fact, it is printing the port address of the IP client side, which is 10.6.9.252. Okay, this is the client ID and the socket. This is the port. This is the IP and the port number which the server will use to communicate back to the client. Okay, the client used now 8127 is port number and 10.6.9.81 as the IP address to communicate to the okay. Now to just make sure you have understood this, I'll just make small changes, but then I won't make too many changes into this. Okay, I also need to leave for a meeting, though we started late. I won't be able to. For example, here you can say, since this is a DOS lab, I can remove it. The etc host would have been used for converting this to the IP address. I can also put hardcode this IP address here 10.6.9.81 and then just run the same program again. Okay, so I can say now Java C, okay, new client dot Java, okay, and then now first if I run my client program when the server is not listening, this will be an exception. You can see that if I try to run this, this will try to open. Could not okay, Java client. This should be an exception. Okay, entered client, but it comes out because there is nothing to actually. I've entered the client, tried opening a socket connection to the server. There is no server program here to listen. I have not started any server here. So 8127, I try opening a socket connection. There's an exception. For example, if JVR Murthy is on leave and his doom is locked, nobody will receive it. The client makes a call. It's an exception. So you come out of that particular thing, and that's an exception to the program, right? So the program just now if you don't write the exception, then there will be a problem into your program. So you need to put that in the try catch block, where when an exception occurs, like opening a server socket is an exception, then you come out of the program. Okay. On the other hand, if I've started my program here, okay, let us say I start the server program here now. Okay, now the server is listening. Okay, server has been started. It is listening on 8127 port. So now when you do this new client here, then it will, now both will try to work with each other. Okay, now you can actually try saying that the program works correctly. Okay, now instead of putting it as a DOS lab, all that I made sure is I gave the 10.6.9.81, which is the workstation. Okay, which is the workstation to which I have logged in, to just make sure you understand. I need not have used DOS lab. This is anyway DOS lab. As you can see, it's a DOS lab server or lab server to where I've logged in and started this program. Okay, so I think I was a little faster in today's class. We lost about 15-20 minutes in the beginning, but then this should, I will go through this one more time on Wednesday before I open it up on multiple facets of writing, how we write distributed programs. Okay, I would like to take any questions you may have at this point of time. Let me see if there is a yes. Are there any questions?
Mail these PPTs to us for this program and so
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we will
yeah.
have a
Yeah, what I'm going to do after this is I will actually put this programs which you can experiment yourself. I'm also going to tell you next class, if you take this program, first thing you have to do is, unless you start programming, you don't understand all the nuances of, this is like learning swimming. Okay. Yeah, somebody is asking, if two client instances are there, what happens? That's an interesting question. Okay. if there are multiple clients, all that I've written here is one single client listening here. As you can see here, there is a client just sending. Okay, this program, the client is just sending. Okay, that's an interesting question. All that I'm writing here is client is just sending the message to the server just getting this message and coming out. Okay, the server
So
can
you can
keep
form a
repeatedly.
queue, sir.
Huh?
You can form a queue on server side.
Yes,
Probably in
you
the
can
queue.
actually. Yeah, what you have to do is you have to now rewrite the server program. This is a very simple server program, right? This is the idea of giving you this program. Okay, now in this server side, you have to put repeatedly for the client server to accept multiple requests. You can put it in a while loop. Okay, you can make the no, make the program listen continuously for the incoming requests. Okay, now once it accepts one request here, then you can start processing that request. Okay, now next time a different client calls, I can write on a different machine the same program. I can run the program on a different machine. It can also make a call to this server. Okay, then server comes in here, accepts that client request and does the same work. Okay, so you can make your server side program.
Sir, for a while, ETV people wants to talk to you, sir. Please give your
Yeah,
message on this.
okay, yeah, sure. Can I see?
పాఠాలు విద్యార్థులకి ఎలా ఉపయోగపడతాయండి?
అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఈ ఆన్లైన్ పాఠాలు మనం మొత్తం ఆల్ ఓవర్ ది వరల్డ్ లో చూస్తున్నాం. మనం ఇప్పుడు ఒక టీచర్ నుంచి మనం లర్న్ చేయాలంటే నార్మల్ గా అయితే మనము ఆ టీచర్ క్లాస్ లో కూర్చోవాలి మనం, లేకపోతే మనం ఫిజికల్ గా వెళ్ళి ఆ క్లాస్ లో కూర్చుంటే తప్ప మనం లర్న్ చేయలేం మనం. సో ఇప్పుడు ఐఐటి ఉందంటే ఐఐటిలో మేము కొంతమంది స్టూడెంట్స్ని అడ్మిట్ చేసుకోగలం. మా క్లాస్ సైజెస్ అరౌండ్ 100 స్టూడెంట్స్ని మాత్రమే మేము యాక్సెప్ట్ చేయగలం మేము. సో ఫిజికల్గా పాఠం చెప్తే మరి 100 స్టూడెంట్స్కే మేము పాఠం చెప్పగలం. ఇప్పుడు ఈ ఆన్లైన్ కోర్సు ద్వారా మరి అబౌట్ ఒక సో మెనీ కాలేజెస్, జేఎన్టీ కాలేజెస్ అన్నీ కూడా ఆన్లైన్లో వచ్చి వాళ్ళకి ఇది నేను చెప్పే క్లాసు రిలే అవుతుంది, వాళ్ళందరికీ చెప్పుకోవడానికి నా దగ్గర నుంచి లాంచ్ చేయడానికి అవకాశం కలుగుతుంది, వాళ్ళ క్వశ్చన్స్ వేయడానికి మన దగ్గర నుంచి లాంచ్ చేయడానికి అవకాశం కలుగుతుంది. కాబట్టి ఇది చాలా పెద్ద ఆపర్చునిటీ అన్నమాట మనకి. ఇది ఆన్లైన్ క్లాసెస్ ద్వారా ఫ్యూచర్ ఆఫ్ లర్నింగ్ కంప్లీట్గా చేంజ్ అయిపోతుంది అనిపిస్తుంది యాక్చువల్గా. ఎందుకంటే టీచర్ నేను ఫిజికల్గా ట్రావెల్ చేయాలంటే నాకు ప్రాబ్లం, అక్కడికి వచ్చి చెప్పాలన్నా ఫిజికల్గా కదలాలన్న ప్రాబ్లం. వేరే ఇక్కడ ఉండి ఒక 1 hour నాకు క్లాస్ చెప్పడానికి, మల్టిపుల్ పీపుల్కి క్లాస్ చెప్పడానికి చాలా ఈజీగా ఉంటుంది. అందువలన ఇది చాలా జేఎన్టీయు మన ఆంధ్ర గవర్నమెంట్ చాలా పెద్ద ఎత్తున స్టార్ట్ చేసింది, వాళ్ళని మనం అభినందించాలి. ఎందుకంటే వాళ్ళు చాలా ప్రోయాక్టివ్గా దీన్ని వాడుకుని స్టూడెంట్స్ అందరికీ హెల్ప్ చేయాలని అనే ఉద్దేశంతో ఇది ట్రై చేస్తున్నారు. ఇది నా ఉద్దేశంలో ఇది చాలా ఉపయోగపడుతుంది స్టూడెంట్స్ అందరికీ. లాంచ్ చేసుకునే వాళ్ళందరికీ ఈ అవకాశం చాలా పెద్ద అవకాశంగా ఉంటుందని చెప్పి నేను అనుకుంటున్నాను.
సార్, ఇప్పుడు ఈ విధానం ద్వారా వాళ్ళకి సూటిగా స్పష్టంగా అర్థమవుతుందని అంటారా?
అది మనం చెప్పలేమండి, ఎందుకంటే ఇది ఎక్స్పెరిమెంట్ చేస్తున్నాం కాబట్టి. మనం ఐఐటి మెడ్రాస్ ద్వారా మేము లాస్ట్ టైంలో ఒక 120 కాలేజెస్కి ఒక 15 లెక్చర్స్ మేము డేటాబేస్ కోర్సుకు సంబంధించింది మేము ఆన్లైన్ ద్వారా పంపించాము యాక్చువల్గా 15 లెక్చర్స్. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు ఒకటి ఏమిటంటే వాళ్ళకి అర్థం కాకపోతే మనకి ఇప్పుడు జేఎన్టీయు కాకినాడ కాలేజీలో కూర్చున్న స్టూడెంట్ ఏ స్టూడెంట్కి అర్థం కాకపోయినా క్వశ్చన్ రేస్ చేస్తే వీలైనంత వరకు ఆన్సర్ చేయడానికి ఆన్లైన్లో మేము ఇంటరాక్ట్ అయ్యి ఆన్సర్ చేయగలుగుతాం మేము. ఓకే, కానీ అది ఆ సైజ్ పెరిగే కొద్దీ ఎంతమందితో ఇంటరాక్ట్ చేయగలము అనేది క్వశ్చన్ వస్తుంది. కానీ లాంచ్ చేయాలి అనుకున్నప్పుడు అది ఆటోమేటిక్గా అది చాలా ఇది ఒక అవకాశం కింద చూడాలి. అది ఇంక దాంట్లో కొన్ని సాధక బాధకాలు ఏమైనా ఉంటే కనుక మనం ఎట్లా దాన్ని ఇంకా మిగిలిన టూల్స్ ద్వారా హెల్ప్ చేయగలం అనేది మనం ట్రై చేయాలి. మనం అది నా
సార్ చివరికంటే ఇది విద్యార్థులతో పాటు అధ్యాపకులకు కూడా నేను వినియోగించుకోవచ్చు అంటారు. దాని ద్వారా వాళ్ళు కొత్త పాఠాలు వాళ్ళకి చెప్పడానికి అవకాశం ఉందంటారా?
చాలా అది మరి అంతే కదా. ఇప్పుడు అక్కడ కూర్చున్న అధ్యాపకులు కూడా ఆటోమేటిక్గా ట్రైన్ అవుతారు కదా దీనివల్ల. ఇప్పుడు ఈ ఎక్స్పెరిమెంట్స్ మేము చేస్తున్న ఎక్స్పెరిమెంట్ మాకైతే కొంచెం సక్సెస్ఫుల్గానే అనిపించాయి. లాస్ట్ టైం ఆ 120 కాలేజెస్కి మేము పంపించింది, మేము వాళ్ళకి దాని నుంచి గుడ్ ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ ఉంది మాకైతే. దాని తర్వాత ఎన్పిటెల్ లెక్చర్స్ ద్వారా కూడా మేము ఒక 1500 స్టూడెంట్స్కి, మేము 15,000 స్టూడెంట్స్కి డేటాబేస్ కోర్సెస్ మేము కండక్ట్ చేసి, ఎన్పిటెల్ కండక్ట్ చేసి, దాని తర్వాత ఆల్ ఓవర్ ఇండియా ఎగ్జామ్, సర్టిఫికేట్ ఎగ్జామ్ కూడా కండక్ట్ చేసాం మేము. 21 సెంటర్స్లో కండక్ట్ చేసాం. సో ఈ విధంగా ఐ థింక్ సడన్లీ చాలా మంది పార్టిసిపేట్ చేసి లర్న్ చేయడానికి అవకాశం పెరుగుతుంది కదా. ఇప్పుడు చదువుకోవాలనుకున్న వాళ్ళకి అవకాశం కల్పించడం మన కనీస బాధ్యత, కనీస కర్తవ్యం. సో ఆ విధంగా చూస్తే ఇది చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఇనిషియేటివ్ అని నాకు అనిపిస్తుంది.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ సార్.
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ అండి. మీ పేరండి?
ప్రశాంత్ సార్.
ప్రశాంత్. ఓకే, జస్ట్ 1 సెకండ్ అమ్మా. హలో హలో, యా అడిగమ్మా.
సార్ ఇది సర్వర్ అదే, ఇఫ్ ఐ వాంట్ టు కనెక్ట్ ఇట్ విత్ వర్చువల్ బాక్స్, హౌ షుడ్ ఐ కనెక్ట్ సార్?
వర్చువల్ బాక్స్ కి దీనికి తేడా లేదు కదా. మేము ఇచ్చేది ఫైనల్ గా when we give you the actual programs that will run, they'll run only on the virtual box. The difference between virtual box and this is that the IP address కొంచెం నువ్వు మ్యాచ్ చేయాల్సి వస్తుంది. IP address లన్నీ జాగ్రత్తగా చేయాల్సి వస్తుంది. Otherwise there's no difference between a virtual box and actual program running on my machine. Okay.
And what about the port set, port number?
Port numbers అవి చేంజ్ అవుతాయి. యాక్చువల్గా యూ హ్యావ్ టు బి లిటిల్ మోర్ కేర్ఫుల్ ఇఫ్ యూఆర్ రన్నింగ్ ఇట్ ఆన్ ద వర్చువల్ బాక్స్. ఓకే, అది ఆ నెట్వర్క్ దాంట్లో నువ్వు లోపలికి వెళ్ళి అవన్నీ నువ్వు సెట్ చేసుకోవాలి. మేము యాక్చువల్గా అది సెట్ చేసి పెడుతున్నాం మేము, సో దట్ యూ కెన్ డౌన్లోడ్ దిస్ వర్చువల్ బాక్స్. వాట్ ఎవర్ ఐవ్ డన్, యూ కెన్ టేక్ ఇట్ యాజ్ అ వర్చువల్ బాక్స్. అండ్ హౌ యూ షుడ్ చేంజ్ ద ఐపీ అడ్రస్ పార్ట్. పోర్ట్ నంబర్ ప్రాబ్లం రాదు, ఐపీ అడ్రస్ ప్రాబ్లం వస్తుంది యాక్చువల్గా. ఓకే, how to set the IP address for the virtual box చేసి నీకు యాక్చువల్గా ఎట్లా చేయాలి ఇది. if it has to run on a virtual box, we are setting that up for you. Okay,
thank you sir.
But that's not going to be a major issue. Virtual box thing will not be a major issue. What you should understand is the concept. Running on a virtual box versus on the separate hardware and operating system part will exactly be the same. Okay,
thank you sir.
Yeah, okay. Any other question? Any other question? Okay, what happens as we go further, what I'm going to show you is, imagine I've just written one single client and one single server. If I have about 10,000 servers, will this, think about this. Somebody is asking, maybe we get the recorded video of this session, I don't know. Okay, so what happens if you are trying to, this is a question to think. I have 10,000 servers and I want to do some program connecting all these 10,000 servers. That becomes a real big problem, because writing these programs, as the numbers become larger, this way of writing programs is going to be a nightmare. Okay, I'll come slowly. That's where we are going to look at how things are changing now with MapReduce and all that other paradigms. Okay, I have to leave now. I'll come back on Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday 2 o'clock session. That time we're going to see more details of some of the intricacies of introducing more complications into this Java programming. Okay, meanwhile I'll also try to send you a simple exercise, an extension to this program which you can try it out yourself. I suddenly need 2 colleges which can experiment. We are going to put a virtual box image. These 2 colleges should download, and our people are going to help you set up the environment in your colleges and have this program run. Okay, so I need to identify 2 faculty members who can work with the team here at IIT Madras to set up the environment back in your college. Since our bandwidth is limited right now, we are willing to take only 2 colleges. Okay, the Insta 2 colleges should send me an email as soon as possible, not later than tomorrow afternoon, so that we can pick 2 colleges to start with and tell you what to down, how to set this environment as we are doing the experiments. Okay. We'll, at this point of time, we're willing to take only 2 colleges on board, but we will increase that no, as our bandwidth becomes better. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Then I will actually come back on Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock.